What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Talking Thrones. Today I want to talk about Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow's relationship and what this might mean for the beloved mother of dragons. The Game of Thrones community has been buzzing about this relationship, especially now that Daenerys and Jon have consummated their relationship. But what I want to ask all of you is, do you think this decision may have sealed Dany's fate? Ever since Season 1, Daenerys has assumed that she would never have children other than her dragons, but I think it's safe to say that in Season 7 they gave us more than enough clues foreshadowing Daenerys getting pregnant again. I think there was at least 4 references to Daenerys not being able to get pregnant in the last 2 episodes alone. They even gave us some foreshadowing with Jon too when he was out beyond the wall in the 6th episode. When Jon tried to give Longclaw to Jorah Mormont, he handed it back and told Jon that it would serve him well, and his children after. I think we can all agree that Jon will get Daenerys pregnant, but this is where things obviously can get a little bit complicated. The most obvious clues of all was when Daenerys and Jon had their own conversation in the Dragon Pit, and pay very close attention to everything in this video clip.
You're not like everyone else. And your family hasn't seen its end. You're still here.
I can't have children.
Who told you that?
The witch who murdered my husband.
Has it occurred to you she might not have been a reliable source of information?
Jon might as well have just broke down the 4th wall right there and looked straight into the camera and said, "Hey, I'm gonna get her pregnant on the Love Boat." But all kidding aside though, I think that scene was very telling. In fact, I believe that 30-second clip I just showed you was one of the most important pieces of foreshadowing in this entire series. That scene right there may have just set up the endgame with Jon and Daenerys. Like I mentioned in my finale breakdown video, when you see Daenerys hand Jon the baby dragon skull, I think that was symbolic and it means Daenerys will give Jon a child. But what is interesting about what Jorah Mormont said to Jon was he told him Longclaw would serve him well and his children after, which implies Jon would have more than just one child. So perhaps Daenerys gets pregnant with twins or possibly even triplets since the dragon has 3 heads. When Daenerys hands Jon the piece of dragon skull, Jon tells her that her family hasn't seen its end because she is still here. Jon is telling her that at least she is still around to carry on the Targaryen name, but as we all know, Jon is a legitimate Targaryen too. But the way Jon said that has me feeling like Daenerys might not always be here. As we get closer and closer to the end of the series, they have hinted at Daenerys not surviving the series. I think there is a very good chance Daenerys might not make it until the end. Even Tyrion was reminding her that she needed a successor in case she isn't around anymore. Someone who could ensure that the wheel stays broken. All of these clues could be leading us to this bittersweet ending. Daenerys has spent years and years working towards ruling the 7 kingdoms. We have seen her go through so much during this journey, and now she is finally in Westeros with 3 large dragons and a massive army, yet she still hasn't secured her position as the ruler. And that day may never come, at least not for her. This was hinted at all the way back in Season 2 when Daenerys had her vision at the House of the Undying. She walked into the Great Hall of the Red Keep, and the Iron Throne was covered in snow, which was also a symbolic meaning Jon Snow, aka Aegon Targaryen, is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne and not her. She didn't even get to touch the throne in her vision, and I don't believe she ever will in her real life either. In this story, history always tends to repeat itself too, and Jon Snow's mother Lyanna Stark did not survive after she gave birth to Jon Snow. And the same thing happened to Daenerys Targaryen's mother. It's pretty interesting that the same thing happened to both of their mothers, and now that these two are about to have a child together, perhaps the same exact thing could happen to Daenerys too. I know I'm not the only one who feels this way also. I have seen some other people say Daenerys might not survive as well, and after you start to look at everything, it definitely feels like they could go in this direction. This does seem like the kind of ending we could get with Game of Thrones. After Daenerys has spent all of this time and sacrificed so much to get to Westeros and rule the 7 kingdoms, but in the end she never actually does. There is another old prophecy that may reveal the fate of Daenerys Targaryen, and I have talked about this before in another video, but that was before Season 7 had aired. And now there is more evidence leaning towards Jon and Daenerys getting married. Back in Season 1, Jon and Sam were asking each other if they had ever slept with anyone, and this is when Jon tells Sam the story about the time he could have slept with Ros, but he didn't because he was afraid he would bring a bastard child into this world. Jon did not want to be responsible for a child having to grow up as a bastard, and this is why Jon said he had never slept with Ros, but of course a few seasons later he hooked up with Ygritte anyway. But she did not get pregnant. Since I believe Jon will get Daenerys pregnant, I also believe when he finds out he will want to marry Daenerys. But he could also marry her for political reasons too. And if that happens, this would make Daenerys his wife. And the reason why I say wife is because of the legend of Azor Ahai. There are many theories out there that state Daenerys is actually Nissa, the wife of Azor Ahai. And in case you weren't too familiar with this, I'm just going to read to you the brief summary of this old legend. Thousands of years ago, when darkness laid over the world, a hero, Azor Ahai, was chosen to fight against it. To fight the darkness, Azor Ahai needed to forge a hero's sword, so he labored for 30 days and 30 nights until it was done. However, when he went to temper it in water, the sword broke. But he did not give up easily, so he started over, and the second time he took 50 days and 50 nights to make the sword even better than the first time. So when he went to temper it again, instead of doing it in water, he captured a lion instead and drove the sword into its heart. But once again, the steel shattered. So the third time when he went to temper the sword, he worked for 100 days and nights until it was finished. But this time he called for his wife, Nissa, and he asked her to bare her breast. He drove his sword into her living heart, with her soul combining with the steel of the sword, creating Lightbringer, the red sword of the heroes. Now personally, I don't think they're going to do this in a television show, but they are putting Daenerys in position of becoming Jon's wife, so who knows. But I figured I would mention this anyway because a lot of people do stand behind this theory. But in my opinion, I'm leaning towards what I said in the beginning of this video. Daenerys Targaryen may see the same fate of her own mother, and Jon Snow's mother, but what do you all think about this? The main reason I wanted to make this quick video was because I was curious to see what the majority of you thought about it. I know some of you have commented about this already, but now I can see what a larger portion of the fan base thinks, so please put your comments down below. I have to thank all of you for coming back once again to watch another video. I wasn't sure how many people would continue watching now that the season was over, but all of you are such strong supporters, you continue to surprise me every day. And I cannot thank you enough for that, especially to everyone on Patreon. I really appreciate everything that you have contributed to this channel. I hope everybody has a great day. I will see you down in the comment section. Bye.